stock and bars stock.
Yo, this is part 2 of our conversation with Anthony Weaver. We are going to pick up where we left off at, where Anthony was getting ready to tell you about how he started investing. Make sure that you follow Anthony, tag in the show notes. Make sure you follow me on YouTube and Instagram, tag in the show notes.
I got my clique ready to use the money they got from jobs, encouraging, teaching them that it's not so hard. I'm doing this, making investing pop. View law is extra. You tuning in to stocks and bars.
Well, I was afraid to invest as well. And even though I dabbled in it, like the first company I dabbled in was ING, but back then it was Capital One. So I was already familiar that you can throw in like $10 or something like that. Yeah. And back then my first investment was Sprint. And obviously we know how Sprint stock going right now. So. Because I had the unlimited plan. I was like, hey, it's my phone. I'm paying for it. They can give me some money back because they had dividends back then. But now it's like, so I had to sell all that again from the prior relationship. Then we ain't going to go there. But I sold all that to pay out these credit cards, which obviously didn't happen during that time frame. So I was afraid to even get back into it again. So I got back in during the pandemic. And because I had nothing but time, I started researching the different products. So you got, I think that was around when Robinhood was popular.
Yes.
Then
yes,
you
it was.
had, what else you had out there? Because that was when Robinhood was the first time you can do partial shares. And I was like, I never heard of people buying partial shares before. So I started researching the company. And then I was like, this company doesn't look like it's something that I would want to invest in because I can't grow with it. It doesn't have any educational tools with it.
Yeah.
And then I decided to go with TD Ameritrade because TD Ameritrade, I can at least put in a beneficiary in case I die.
Yeah.
So not in case, but when I die. Yeah, right. So when I die or move on, or some people say transition, that piece right there, just having that one piece available of information had me at ease. I was like, cool. So even if I put in, like, I started off with like $100 and I was like, all right, let me see how the transition works. Like, how much money can I transfer in? How much can I take out?
Yeah.
And looking at all the tools and everything like that. So if you guys are looking into starting anything, I would highly recommend look at the platforms that you're investing in because they do have training modules. And because they have training modules, they also got referral bonuses. So if you know somebody that's looking into getting investing, just ask them like, hey, if you're looking here, just use this link, put in $100. We both get free shares or something like that, depending on which broker you go with.
As a matter of fact, I should go ahead and pop that in this notes. Yeah. Let's get this stock, baby. Let's go.
Right. Which one are you using?
I use TD Ameritrade as well. Nice. I've been with them when they were Thinkorswim, and I've never left. Yep. So we're in the same boat.
That was another thing because they had the Thinkorswim app, which is a great learning tool.
Yes.
For those of you who don't know, it was a lot of tools that actually allow you to have play money. And because you get to have play money, you can use play stocks. But obviously, you got to start off with $100. You got to give them a little something.
Yeah.
And then, but you don't have to invest $100, but at least put $100 into your account.
Right.
And then that pretty much will open up the doors for you. And as you learn, the cool thing with TD Ameritrade, which I had to go through, is tell them like, hey, want to move up to the next level. So you start off as a level 0, then you can move to level 1, 2, then 3.
Yes.
I think I'm at a level 3 trader at this point because I think once you get to $2,000 into the account, they open up the doors for you to do options, and doing puts and all this extra stuff. So because of that, and that's the reason why I did with TD Ameritrade, because you can grow with the platform. And so, dealing with that, and that's what made me felt the most comfortable.
All right. Yeah. So we've experienced the full Anthony Weaver life story right now, from Baltimore, to where you went to college, every experience that you've gotten. And then now we've got this guy who's polished. He's come out of the fire and he's ready to get into the teaching aspect. So let's talk about that journey here. Now that we got that going on, what inspired you in order to start your podcast?
Uh, what inspired me was that my wife didn't want to listen to me talk about finances because I was learning about it. I was like,
yo, that's
hey, babe,
the realest
did you hear about
episode
this?
answer
Right.
I've gotten.
But I mean, think about it. All the
talking to me, so I'm
podcasters,
talking to y'all.
right? Somebody go hear what I got to say. And come to find out, a lot of people do. So,
Yeah.
And I appreciate every one of your followers. If you're not following now, please go to About That Wallet.
Get
On
my
YouTube.
man up.
Yeah, follow. 'Cause the beautiful thing about it is, like, you know, when you have that epiphany of, like, you're so excited about, like, why wasn't this taught in school? Why wasn't somebody tell me this? Why did my mom did not tell me this? Where was my dad at during this process?
Yeah.
Like, and I actually go back, I think earlier this year or last year. Yeah, last year. I was asking my mom, I was like, why didn't you add me as an authorized user on a credit card? She was like, well, I heard about authorized users. And I saw people do that for their kids, but they always come to Macy's and put their name on it and swipe it on or whatever. But she was like, I was just afraid that I was going to mess up your credit.
That
And I was
fear
like,
again.
yeah. And I was like, well, now that I'm older, I was like, you didn't have to give me the credit card at all. Like, you could have
You just could have kept
used
using
it yourself
Yeah.
and pay it off. Yeah. But I get it now because a lot of people, and this is one of the things, I don't fault the parents. The parents only
Right.
going to teach you as much as they're comfortable teaching,
Right.
comfortable doing, or something that they've done themselves. And nobody's going to teach you if they haven't done it or felt comfortable. And that's one thing I appreciate you as well, is that you are teaching or sharing the things, your experiences that you've done, so that other people can have that same experience. Because it's almost like, you know, if you never vacuumed the floor, who are you to tell somebody, hey, this is the best vacuum cleaner?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Like, to me, honestly, the best vacuum cleaner I've ever tried was the Kirby vacuum cleaner. The thing is heavy, but it
It got
everything
busy
done.
though. Yeah.
Yeah, it gets done. So, but yeah, I would say that what really got me into it was that, like, my wife was just, she don't want to hear about finances. She's a CPA, and so just kind of dealing with that. It's like dealing with the finances. She don't want to talk about it. I was like, well, somebody gonna listen to me because this is great. So,
May not be you, but the
Right.
rest of the world is available.
right. And so one of the things that I realized during my journey of starting the podcast was that a lot of making money is easy.
Right.
Some of you be like, oh, it's not. I'm like, don't you have a job right now? All you need is just a sheet of paper, less than 5,000 characters, and you can go get a job.
That's it.
So making money is easy, but it's what we do with it is the hardest piece. And reaching, so now my shift as I go through this journey is trying to figure out, how do we reach America's poor?
Right. Right.
Which is those who had $200,000 jobs, who dropped off to now only making $15,000 a year, either as a waitress or waiter, cleaning, doing house cleanings, or just mopping the floors as a janitor and so forth. It's like, how do we reach those folks to have self-worth again,
Right.
to feel self-pride, even though they might be making a little less, but how can they get to that level of comfortability? And majority of them are the boomers, the baby boomers, who lost their money during the recent downturn of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And because of that, a lot of the stocks had dropped, so they can't even retire. And we only 3 years out, and most of the time retirement is set up for more than likely 10 years on average. So if we know that 10 years, they only got what less than 7 years to go to try to bounce back, or if the thing bounced back and we call it for almost another recession, that's the worst that's going around. I don't know what's going to happen, but how do we kind of safeguard some of that, as us as young adults, or that I call us the middle generation, where either we got kids, but also we got aging adults, and we like balance in between the two how do we going to take care of the parents, but also deal with the kids, and then also they broke. So it's like, how do you make this work? And that's the challenge. And for those of you who are listening, will understand or either going through it right now. It's like, well, what do I do? And my thing right now is to pour into yourself, educate yourself, so that you can help educate the next person. I won't say the next generation, but I'll say the next person that hears your voice, because I can talk, me and you, we can talk all day.
Just all day long. Right. Yeah.
And we both understand each other. But your audience, I can't reach your audience the way you reach your audience. And you might not be able to reach my audience the way I reach my audience. So it's like everybody has a story to tell. And I say, don't be afraid to tell somebody that you don't know something, because you'd be surprised on what they actually might know.
Right. So. Yeah, man. Reaching people is always a difficult thing. Like when I first started on this journey, I got really frustrated for the fact that when I try to reach people, I used to really try to hammer home that I'm trying to help you. Turn around. I'm trying to help you. You know, I was very adamant with being the help. And it took me a while to really understand, like, yo, everybody don't want your help, dog. Like, they got to come to a point where they either hit that rock bottom or they want that help. And so at that point, that's when I really learned to reserve my energy and save it for people who actually really want the help. And that's a tough thing to do, especially, you know, I'm really passionate about this. Like, I really want to put a cape on and save as many people as possible, because I know what that struggle is, and it's hurtful, right? And I don't want anybody to hurt like that. So when I go through this, I'm like, I gotta stay away from that, because I'll go down a rabbit hole and be somewhere I don't need to be. So how do you balance that? You know, when you run into people like that, where you really know they need your help, but you're like, all right, holla at me when you're ready. Like, how do you balance that out?
The way how I balance that is by first planting the seed. It's just say, it kind of reminds me of, like, I kind of put this in my head when I saw the movie with Jet Li, when he was chained up like a dog. And I can't remember what movie that was, but he was just always fighting, and to the point where he didn't have any English, whatever. And he got adopted by this other family. I'll say adopted. Well, they actually took him in, and they was like, well, you're not talking, but here's some food or whatever. They saw him homeless or whatever, and gave him some food. And the guy said one liner in there that stuck with me the whole time. Like I said, I don't know the movie, but I know this one line. And he said, when you're comfortable talking about it, just let me know, but here's some food. Because he asked him, like, what's wrong? What have you been through? And it was just a long stare. And then he was like, don't worry about it. Just talk to me when you're ready. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, at least the person know you're there when they need you.
Yeah.
Because all the things that you give them right now, they might not be able to take action on it because of the way how their life is set up.
Right.
But what you told them will sit with them for the longest until they're ready, and then they'll come to you. And that's what's happening to me as well. Even some of the friends and family, like, now that they know I talk about finances all the time, they actually do come to me and ask a few questions. But I'm like, until you're ready to really sit down, I mean, to go over some of your budgets and what you're investing in, I really can't help you too much. But one of my buddies, was going through a debt collection. And I was like, I kind of wish he had came to me first. So I talked him through to get out of that debt collection process, because they were charging him more than what some of his bills were. And I was like, the amount that you're paying, you could actually pay off.
And isn't that a shocker, man? Like, stuff like that also gets me fired up, right? Yeah. Because what I think is a perpetual thing where they try to keep you down consistently. Like, why would you do that to somebody who's trying to get out of a situation, right? Like, I get real upset when I go to neighborhoods and they have the cash, fast cash and all that stuff, and then they charge you like 33% interest. I'm like, what sense does this make, right? Like, they don't have the money, so then you charge the money that they can never be able to get out of. Like, this is a game to them, and extrapolate money consistently out of our neighborhoods.
On top of that, look at when you see those check cashing places, how close is the nearest bank?
Pretty close. It's pretty
An actual
close.
bank near there?
Well, where I'm at in Ohio, they had a couple of these cash places, right? And we had First Merit. It was not too far from the First Merit. And a lot of these places were like former places that used to work on cars, right? Or something like that. Like, it just popped up. But yeah, they were pretty close to banks around where I'm at.
That's interesting, because where I was at, it was at least, I would say, a mile or two walk to get from an actual bank to the cash place. So a lot of people would just catch the bus because the cash place was on the bus route. The bank wasn't.
Okay.
So, and it's like, you know, if they would just held on and just took the extra steps and just open up a bank account, you can get exchange your money for free. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But again, if you don't read the fine print, you can wind up paying that, with banks, you get that overdraft fees. But I'm glad that they allow you to opt out of it now. Opt out of the overdraft fees. I think starting September 1st, I think a lot of the banks are starting to implement that.
That's a good move right there, because that's another move that they do to urban neighborhoods in order to take money out of them, because that's a whole nother podcast as well, man. But anyway, so we've grown up with you. We've seen what you've done with About That Wallet, the YouTube channel. So I want to now jump into the real estate aspect. I've seen on Instagram that you've recently got into owning real estate. So how'd you get involved in that, and where you at with it now?
How I got involved in it was I looked into different programs. So I was just looking around in the DC area. And then I just filled out a form because it was like, hey, we're just doing, seminars or whatever, just to kind of learn about real estate. And I was like, cool, let me sign up for one of these. These are free through the state's website. Well, that's not state, through the city's website. And so I just filled out a form. They kind of emailed me, and the guy was like, hey, it seemed like a lot of people didn't show up or signed up, so you're the only one. So just
listen to
just
that.
Get on the call.
Listen to this right here. Free information. He was the only one. This is what I'm talking about, man. They have so many things out here waiting for you. You just need to take advantage.
Yeah. So when I went through it, and I was like, hey, let me, what are the possibilities that are out here? I was looking into FHA, which is the First Time Homeowners Association process. And I just wanted to see what was that all about. So the realtor was real nice. He walked me through everything. I answered all my questions, and we wound up started looking for houses, I think within by that weekend, and just he'll just send me a list, and we'll just go ahead on and figure out, okay, what houses we want to look into. Then I was like, well, I really want a multi-unit kind of, moderate price range. And then he was like, well, we got a couple of them here in DC. And the ones in DC, I was like, man, I don't even know how they charge these prices. Like, you talking about that HVAC fully exposed right next to the sink. And I was like, no, I can't do this. Maybe I can build a wall here. I was like trying to fix it up as I'm going inside these places. So I was like, all right, some of these are fixer-uppers. And then some of the neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods weren't too bad. One of them was kind of sketch, but the price was good. But I was like, I don't feel like dealing with all the extra work and the hassle and parking, because that's another thing to look out for is parking. So I found a little spot that was nice and quiet, in a quiet neighborhood, walkable, and everything like that. So I got in that property at 3.5% with at the 6.125 interest rate. So
okay, yeah. So you got the FHA then for the 3.5. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yo, for people who don't know this hack, right? I'm gonna share a hack that I learned a long time ago. Did you get a duplex by chance?
It's a duplex.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. See,
so I can rent one and live in the other.
Boom. See, this is exactly what I was gonna say. Simple, real estate hack. This is something I've already taught my girls that when they get old enough, I got 3. When they get old enough, get them a duplex, live in one half, rent the other one out. The other one will pay for your mortgage.
Let them both live there. One live on one side, the other live on the other.
They can do that. They
can get
can
that
do
equity.
That. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Either way.
Right.
But I said if they want somebody to pay their mortgage, they just have one side they live in, and then the other tenant pays for it. And if there is any difference, it'll be minimal. So anybody who has not taken advantage of this, get yourself a first-time home buyer, get a duplex, live in one half, and you can repeat this process as many times as you want. You won't get a first FHA mortgage again.
You can get another FHA.
Okay, that'll
every
not
3
hit
years.
too. Okay, yeah. Dang, I should have got one.
After the 3rd year, you can do it, but it depends on your bank. So, like the bank that I'm with, I can refinance after 4 months into a conventional loan.
Okay.
And because they did give me that option, like if I wanted to do a conventional loan to start out with, because it was my first time, I can come in at 5% instead of the 3.5%. And then as another strategy, you also have NACA. Now, NACA is a long-term play. However, your interest rates on your mortgage, so you can get it as low as 1%. Even in today's market.
That's cheap debt right there.
Yeah, even in today's market. And keep in mind, you can do a 4-plex as well. So you can live in one and rent out the other 3. So
this is the hack. To me, this has been shared maybe about 6 years ago. And I was like, man, I should have did that. And since then, I've been making sure to preach that same message to as many people as possible. If you have the opportunity, just get yourself at least a duplex so somebody else can pay it. Then you can move out, rent that half you just moved out, do it again. And you can do that about 3 different times. Next thing you know, you have 3 homes under your belt and cash available. So there's another simple way for you to get invested, especially for real estate. So
now I wonder,
go ahead.
I add on to that? Because it depends on your circle as well.
Yeah.
So if your circle is only buying and selling apartment buildings, that's how you're going to know.
Right.
Your first property could actually just be an apartment building. So don't limit it to, based on what we talk about here. If your friends are selling hotels and you should be buying hotels.
Get that strategy in play however you know best. We'll put it that way.
And then also, because you always hear about like getting into a LLC or whatnot, the cool thing about me not putting it into an LLC is that I actually get like a homestead ed tax credit as well.
Is it 2.5?
I gotta look at it. It was like 1 point something.
Okay.
It wasn't as high. It depends. It depends on your
state.
Your state.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I get a what else did they give me? They gave me something else. This is one thing that I did not know that you should do. So everybody who has a house right now, it's okay to go head on and fight against the assessed value of your property. If you want to pay less taxes,
this is a fact.
This property, this property was assessed at $730,000, and I was like, there's no way. No way. So I went back with the appraisal because I got an appraisal done, when you purchase a property.
Right.
And I was like, well, this property was appraised for $630,000. They was like, well, DC would like to go head on and take another assessment. They brought it down to $650,000. And I was like, really? So either way, it's still $80,000 to $90,000 cheaper. But I'm like, come on, like give me a little bit less. I don't pay all these taxes. The property isn't even worth that much. So I gotta go for another appeal. So this is real time, people. Going through that appeal process and talking to my neighbors. Some of them on that 3rd, 4th appeal because the person that's the appraiser for that area is keep jacking up the pricing. for some tax purposes when the properties aren't really that expensive.
This is also a hack. I've had to go through this. I went through it on my last property, and I went through it on a property that we recently bought with my fellas, where I fought that assessment for that very reason. Now, if you're in Ohio, I don't know what it is over in the DC, Baltimore area, but in Ohio, you have a window between January and March where you have to fight that. Okay, so all you technically need is another document that disputes what that value is. And in your case, it was the appraisal. It was the same for me. I had an appraisal. Right. And also had a purchase price. So when I bought the property at the price that I bought it at, and it was like, yo, you had it based on this property. I mean, on this price that was paid by XYZ. I bought it at this. By nature, the percentage should be relative. At least that's what my argument was. And I won on both my cases. I didn't have to do too many rounds of going back and forth. It was, all right, here's my documentation. They got back to me fairly quick and was like, yeah, you're right. So fight it. You will end up paying more if you don't do anything. So worst case scenario is you may have to go a couple rounds, but I promise you it'll be worth it because it'll at least lower it. Like in your case, it didn't get to where the number you wanted it at, but it definitely lowered it so you didn't have to pay as much.
Yeah, I'm gonna fight it again. So I mean, like I said,
keep fighting.
We gonna get
fight the power, brother. Now this one, I want to give a segment to the person who you first started dating and put you in the situations, right? Now, yeah, they were ugly at that point in time. However, they built you, brother. They got you to where you at right now. That was a stepping stone. So I shed positivity on all aspects of life because everything teaches you something. You walk away with knowledge of some sort, no matter what the situation is. And that one was, it was not fun to live through, 100%. But think about it. There likely wouldn't be a podcast. You wouldn't probably have met your current wife. All right. True. You have gotten the knowledge that you've gotten all based upon going through that pain of learning what finance truly is. So whoever may be going through something, it'll be a better day at some point in time. And always know it could be worse.
Yeah, I would say that one of the things that kind of saved me is to understanding not falling into sunk cost.
Yeah.
Because I put in a lot of work, but I had to let it go. So it's like I had to have that Buddhist mindset on. It's like, when they doing all like shaving for the sand and everything like that, and then they just kind of clean it. I'm like, yo, you just spent how long? Like several months on that? And you just gonna throw it in some water? It's one of those moments. Like you just gotta wash your hands. Be like, you know what? You can keep all of it, even stuff that you really wish you could have brought with you. Just let it go.
Just that peace means everything, man. There's no price that you can put on that.
None.
So now that we got the good building part done, right? So now you and your wife, how do you and your wife go about discussing finances?
On the first date, actually.
Okay.
I just told her, hey, this is my debt, which I had my student loans. I still do. And I was like, hey, working on getting my student loans knocked out. This is what I got to do. And actually, I did a whole podcast on it, so y'all can fact check me there. She checked me on a lot of the stuff. But we met at a park and went walking around because I met her on Tinder. And I was like, hey, this is what I got. And don't look at me to do all this lavish things. So, if you want me, I'm here. Or if not, I understand. I'm broke.
Take it or leave it. Yeah. Right. I'm broke, and you're going to deal with a broke cat. So, yo, this is real.
Yeah. So the question is, I always wonder, it's like, should you date broke? And I would say it's good to know that you can date broke, but still try not to stretch yourself financially.
Yeah.
Just lay it out on the table. Like, if you see somebody, hey, this is it. you know, just kind of state your claim, say like, hey, this is my game plan to get out, and stick to your game plan. Like, a woman will always love a guy that can keep his word. So
you would hope so. You would hope so.
yeah.
Some people get, scared away, but at the same point in time, if it wasn't for you, then it wasn't for you. I'm in the same boat. I like to just say, this is it, and let it fall where it's going to fall. Because at the end of the day, back to the piece. There's no value you can put to it. I'm not going to try to sugarcoat anything about that.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, one of the things that we did was definitely keep things separate. So I actually wanted to keep things separate. We have separate bank accounts, separate everything. So, and life is great.
All right. So we're getting close here now. I want to wrap this one up now. I want to talk about my favorite thing. All right. Let's get into the hip hop. All right. So the reason why I do what I do and why it's called Stacks and Bars is because with all the hip hop that I listen to, financially impact me in negative ways. And I say that to kind of circle back to the beginning of the podcast where we talked about fashion, right? And there's a lot of things that we've seen in videos, whatever the case may be, that we've heard in music that pointed to reckless spending. And I always go back to that time frame and say, man, if I would have known what I know now. But now that we have learned, all right, hip hop, what are you listening to right now as far as hip hop is concerned?
Hip hop wise, there isn't anything that I've been really. Honestly, my music genre stops at like 2006.
That's all right. What were you listening to back then, too?
It was like 2016, maybe the latest, but it was like Snap Your Fingers, all the club music.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That was still a pretty decent era.
Yeah.
We had some hits in there.
Yeah. And that was it. Like, you don't need anything else beyond it. 2006, 2009 time frame. I'm actually looking at when I heard about the Air Force One song.
Air Force Ones had to be 2002?
Yep, 2002.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on it.
That long ago? Because that's when I finished.
That's 20 years ago now.
Yeah, that was high school.
Wow. Okay. That just made me feel old.
The thing about it, though, I know somebody had came out the song before similar to this. Similar to talking about Air Force Ones.
You talking about shoe or just similar to Air Force Ones?
The shoes itself.
I don't know who came out with the song Air Force Ones.
All right. By the way, it was around that time frame, but I was like, man, that's the price of my shit.
So, hip hop lyric. Is there a hip hop lyric that you can remember that made you influenced to spend on anything in general?
That spend on anything.
Yeah. Is there a rapper who said Crystal or something, anything like that made you like, I'm gonna go get this product because this hip hop artist said that he has it?
It was a drinking song. I'm not sure if there's a hip hop song, but it was like Shots with what's the name of the guy's name? Like shots.
Lil Jon.
Everybody. Yeah,
Lil Jon.
yeah, Patron. Like he'll listen all up. It's like apple pop. Like
yeah. And he only had like 5 lyrics in the whole song.
Yeah, that's all.
A Lil Jon song had to be the easiest song to record in the world. He was like, what? And then he was out, and they just looped it.
Have you ever seen him when he reading his sheet music? He prints it out on like at least 128 font. Like, if you actually look at how he reads his music in the studio, it's crazy.
I have to experience this at some point. I'll YouTube it. But yeah, Lil Jon, don't make fun of me, but I'm gonna make fun of you first. All of your music was the same song, brother. But he got bank on it.
Whoever his DJ or producer was,
they was making hits.
Top notch.
Yeah, they was making bangers back then.
Yeah.
All right, so
I can say like my group that I was growing up with though, during my early college years was 3-6 Mafia, was around that time frame before they became popular.
Which coincidentally they were into investing, and I didn't know this until after the fact. I did not know that Juicy J was an investor until after I learned about it.
Yeah, because I was back when Juicy J, Project Pat, when they had they call it Lil White, Gangsta Boo, and Chat. So having all them and Crunchy Black, you had Pastor Troy was coming through sometimes. So that was, I was rocking with them heavy.
Not a bad choice. All right, so family, I appreciate you spending time with me on the podcast, man, connecting with me. I appreciate you showing me love in order to hop on your YouTube channel. I just appreciate rocking with genuine brothers. Like, I can feel that you're out there really to help people learn about finances. And this is something that like I said, I'm truly passionate about. And having the opportunity to vibe with somebody else who's also looking to do the same thing. Because you mentioned you work, I work. And this is something that I do after the fact. And I still have enough energy to be able to be like, yeah, I still want to do this, you know. Now,
how long have you been doing this now?
Podcasting is maybe 3 years. I think I started right when the pandemic started to end. That December is my very first podcast, and listening to it, it's like that first one I was super monotone. I was nervous. Now I'm like, this is nothing. Now this is pretty simple.
Look at you. So,
just to recap for people, we talked about simple ways in order to not monetize, simple ways for you to invest, simple ways to just watch your money, period. We talked about the easy strategy about how you start with, small amounts of capital and let it snowball up. We talked about how to reduce your debt real simply. We talked about how to start investing, all of the good stuff. So appreciate you listening. If there's any questions, you can always hit me up. Let everybody know where they can find you at on any social media.
All right. Again, everybody, you can find me at About That Wallet on YouTube, Twitter, or X, and Instagram.
X, I forget about that. Which that sounds filthy now, by the way. Like, come on, you like X, really? That's a drug. That's a whole bunch of things. But anyway, you can find me at Wincrease Team on any social media, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of that good stuff. You can find me, same handle. It's in the show notes. You can find me there. And once again, brother, much love to you. Much love to everybody that you love. I look forward to being able to be of any assistance to whatever you may need to help you grow. I'm glad to be there. So thank you again for spending time with me and helping other people learn about investing. So thank you, brother.
Oh, man. Thank you so much for allowing me to be on the platform. Greatly had a lot of fun here and got a little bit vulnerable as well. So.
It's all good. All right, until next time, thank you, brother.
3-6 Mafia, let me hold this beat for a minute, fam. Put a little finance on it. It's the Stocks and Bars podcast.
What's on right now?
It's finance and hip hop is mixed together. The message goes first and the bars last. I do this for the culture, we'll get rich together. Through these stocks, ain't no one exempt. I'm the only one rapping the truth and exposing myths. Helping everybody raise the bars like I own a gym. The only one is killing, that's the grain that I go against. What's it really worth? Dollars for my soul, I say no it's strength. Flooded the culture, I built the ark like Noah did. They hear what I'm doing with my music, there were no attempts. They said it can't be done, and I said that they told a fib. A rapper and investor, you can say that it's a golden gift. I'm here to change the world forever. For my daughters, I became a better word selector. To the imagery about me, I make certain pressure. Only podcast to do it, and you know that it's the Stocks and Bars podcast. Stocks and Bars. Stocks and Bars podcast. Stocks and Barks Podcast. Stocks and Barks Podcast.
Stock